Well, hey,
Hey,
good morning. How are we doing?
doing all right. I think we both
Oh,
got caught up and we were looking at something, and then all of a sudden we hear the roar and like,
like, oh,
oops, time to look to the screen.
yeah. Holy cow. Oh, boy, been a big week. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing?
So
Oh,
I just realized I was talking and my mic was off. You couldn't hear me, could you?
what's that?
Did you hear me just a minute ago?
What were you saying?
That hello everybody, and
Yeah, yeah, I heard you. Yeah, it's fine.
oh, now I got to look at my settings because my mic was off.
Oh, you're all good, man. We heard you. Good morning, Donald. Yes, you made it just in time for the roar. So thank you everyone for joining us. Yeah, I'm a bad YouTuber. I forget to say this all the time. Hit the like button, share this out to people so we bring more people in. That really does feed into the logarithm. We had someone share stuff and like YouTube freaked out when stuff gets shared. It's amazing what happens. So
Woohoo! Share away.
oh
This should
my,
actually sound better.
that does sound much better. Yeah.
So I
Okay.
still had the setup from last week when I was traveling, and I had
Okay.
to change devices. And so when I realized you could hear me and my actual microphone was off in front of me, it's like, oops, I better change that.
Wah, wah, wah.
So I see Mark noticed I have a fancy collared shirt on today. So yeah, since I was traveling last week with my normal Friday shirt, it's still in the laundry. It's been a week. Maybe it'll get done this week. Who knows? Yeah, a good friend of mine, went through and found a shirt that looked really nice like this, and I was able to get it from him last week. So, Chris, thank you. I think it's your wife. I really have to thank, right?
100%. My wife is amazing. She's all about like making sure that I look much better than I normally or have any reason to look. And she said, "Oh, Kevin should have a nice shirt too." And so she hunted down a nice looking polo
I
shirt too.
I like it. I'm looking at it on camera now. I think it looks good. So,
Yeah,
great. Thanks
looking
again.
sharp. Yeah, yeah. I will pass that on. Uh, I did not say anything.
uh,
Oh, and
Thanks,
Donald, it was
Donald.
great seeing you last weekend
It
too.
was.
Yeah, so last weekend we were at Sequel Saturday. Fantastic time. I had a great time getting to share a whole bunch of different stuff with people. It went over really, really well. It
Hmm.
was fantastic. None of it was recorded, so like you had to be there or be square. Um, but I think I'm gonna like actually just go in and record the content because I think it was good stuff. It was a great conversation. Or maybe we'll do it as a live stream. I don't know. We'll have to figure out what's best to get into that. But a
We
lot of
could
good
we could
stuff
put it
coming this
at
week.
we could put yours as a topic for a Friday or something, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
I sat through part of yours. I think that's when I was what do I call it, time sharing.
Uh,
I would go to like stay at the beginning of one session, to hit the middle of another session, and the end of another one, and that was an interesting way to watch, to try to catch bits of each one or whatever. But I think I got to the middle of yours and stayed to the end, and yeah, it was interesting. It reminded me of a few things I've done in the past and kind of forgot about.
yeah.
I'm thinking of the first session that you did,
Oh,
because
was it data
Chris was
modeling?
at
Yeah,
yeah, Chris was ambitious. He did 2 sessions, so
yeah, and they were straight in a row. So it was like
yeah.
Katie bar the door. We're talking for 2 hours straight, which is super fun.
It
Oh
was great. But yes, it was good to see everybody. Fun to travel up that way and everything. And like I said, I kind of paying a little bit of the price this week on it by getting caught up and everything, because I stayed till late in the evening to goof around St. Paul and that area and stuff, because I've never been up there before. So
how'd
uh,
that go?
it went pretty well. There was some sculptured gardens
Mm,
that they had right there in St. Paul that I went to visit. The marathon that they had ended up being canceled, and I think that helped me because I think I was going to get caught up in that traffic if I went to that sculptured gardens when I got down that way.
I
They said
gotcha.
it was too hot for everybody up there, so
Okay.
I don't know. I think they would have ran it in Texas, but
Yeah.
who am I to say? I'm not a runner, obviously.
Yeah, we got to see Dan English and Greg Beaumont up as well, and Christina was there, so we got to spend some time with her. So great stuff. Good
Mm-hmm.
morning, Greg. Behave today, Greg. I was just gonna call that out. It was a good time, and I was a little concerned about the whole the marathon thing, and for those of you who don't know, I'm an early riser. I'm up between 3:30 and 4:30 every morning, rain or shine, 365 days a week. So like that morning I was up at like 3:30, and I just thought, I got nothing going on for the day. I'm like, I could get home and like get a head start on this stuff. So I was like out of the hotel by 4 and on the road, and I traveled for like, I think it was like 200 miles, and I only passed 5 cars. It was,
Oh, wow.
it, I had all of the roads to myself. It was fantastic. So, and
Hey,
here's
look
Dan
who's
English.
there.
Yeah.
Mention his name and he shows up.
Yeah. Dan English.
So, yeah, a bit chilly. How many times did I get laughed at? Because, I left Texas. It was in the high 90s and it was up there. And in the nights, it was hitting down into the low 70s or the 60s. And I'm wearing long sleeves and getting laughed at most of the time.
Yeah.
But it's like that
what
here
are
now.
you doing, man? Like,
yeah, it's like, what are you doing? Said, trust me, I'll be cold. It's nicer down here too. So Dan, it was great to meet you in person there. Good. It was like we just keep saying, it was a great place to be. So hopefully next year it'll get even bigger. Watch for it again. I might try to get up that way again now that I know the routine, and we'll see how it goes.
and I'll say it was kind of cool. I had intended to say this when we were like talking, Dan, but like you walked in, you're like, "Hey, Chris." I'm like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And you're talking. I'm like, "I know the voice. Put the voice to the team's picture." Like, who is it? It was like 5 minutes, and I'm like, "Dan!" Right? I know who this is.
Yeah, you gotta you gotta picture the online meeting thing or the
Right.
video or whatever, right? Like, okay. But now I get to know the person in real life.
Yeah, it was cool getting to meet and talk with you and everyone else. So very excited. And apparently it was 85, and yeah, last Saturday it was crazy there. In fact,
Yeah.
we walked from the hotel to like the conference, and I had my laptop in my backpack.
Oh,
And apparently I didn't shut it off, so like I had this hot fan blowing on my back, and by the time I got to the conference, I'm dripping in sweat. And well, fortunately I wasn't the only presenter. Like literally there were 5 other people who had something similar going on. It was just like, what is happening here?
Yeah, well, because a lot of people had to walk over, I think, from the museum. They had to park over by the museum or whatever because all the traffic changes. But even though it was a little bit cooler in the mornings, the humidity was up quite a bit. I think that's why they canceled that marathon, with as humid as it was. The news clips that I caught later in the day, some people still ran it and everything.
Okay.
And then while I was walking around those sculptured gardens, I saw a couple people from the marathon that were walking around there. So they were trying to make the best of it and everything. So, and then I did spend some time in the Mall of America and watch football there and stuff. So, I could say I could now click that, requirement off as when you visit that area, you have to step foot into the Mall of America. And
Done, huh?
It is mind blowing though. It's huge.
That opened up when I was in high school, and me and my buddies got together and we went over on opening weekend of the Mall of America. And let me tell you, that like imagine like going to a huge concert, and that was kind of what it was like. It took an hour and a half to get into the parking structure, and you got into the place, and it was like you're shoulder to shoulder, belly to butt, just going through the whole place. Like
It doesn't feel like the best shopping experience.
it was not shopping; it was just looking at this crazy building and stuff like that.
How many people do you fit into a fitting room at once? Wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my left leg in these pants. Can you do your right side? No.
Yeah, it was back when malls were cool, back in the day. Yeah. I think I got an Orange Julius. That was my big thing that I got there. Oh, good deal. And apparently Stina wants to get you into watching rugby. So.
Yeah, I might be able to do that. I have to note that one down. Dallas Jackals, so we could have a rivalry. I might be in on that.
All right.
Yeah, I see Dan's concern. Right? Yeah, I get it. They weren't sure that they had enough people to do the emergency response for, like I said, it felt cool, but that even when we walked and it was cool that first day, that humidity and everything kicks up really quickly. I'm not making as much light of it as I am. Yeah, I still think down here, they would have run it, but it's different, right? Every city's different. They got to do what's best for it. Like I said, some people, we're fine with it, and always the news is going to sensationalize stuff and grab people that go, well, I'm still going to run it, and whatever. But
and like if you're in marathon shape, right? Like there's lots of people that run, that travel for marathons and they run like that all summer, right? And so 80, 90, 100 something, and they train for it, and that it's not a problem, right? And for them, God bless, go do it, right? I think it's for the weekend warrior marathoners, there's probably some people like me who step out there like, I'm just,
I could do it. Yeah.
Why 26? That's just one more than 25, right? Like how hard could that be, right? That would die, right?
Literally. Yeah. And then again, we're kind of back to the same. What's the news going to focus on, right? If they cancel it, they focus on the people that say I'm still going to run it. If they don't cancel it, they focus on the people that needed emergency response, right? So, wow, we got somebody from Australia. Thanks for. It's the time shift is quite a bit there. So.
Well, we are truly a global phenomenon. So let us know.
Maybe we should get into some topics that
provide
value.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Instead of just chatting about the weather and sporting events we don't participate in, right? I think you have a great slide we pulled from social media here.
Yeah, so let me actually try to zoom in on it. All the ones that I could get. Oh, wrong. I'm on the wrong window. Try that again. All right. So on social medias, I think a lot of people have been sharing this. They've all been from an angle and a little bit blurry, so I apologize for that. But with the big conference going on in Las Vegas this week, there's been a ton of announcements. Look for, I think Alex Powers, I should have looked at his stuff on LinkedIn. I think he actually has some good links to some things, but this slide is kind of coming on, what's going to be coming out soon. So this week they're saying what's going to be next, and then what is out into the future. So if we, try to go through this just a little bit. So we're not 100% sure what everything is on here.
We were not at the conference. So if you're at the conference or you know what any of these things are, let us know. But post in the chat which ones you think is your favorite that you've seen.
Yeah. So I'm not 100% sure what Backstage is, but okay.
Pretty sure Backstage for Power BI Desktop is a joint venture with the Backstreet Boys and Power BI. They're going to start doing videos and songs to go along with.
Nice. The new card visual, right? And so, this is a continuation of improving the visuals. I believe there's a whole LinkedIn group about the new visuals coming up in Power BI. So if you want to follow things there, I think they're being very open, as they can, as soon as they kind of develop things and how things are going to be going. So look for improvements there. I thought I saw something. It's in the coming soon. The slicer visual is coming as well, because I think there's been some talk about that. calculation groups inside the desktop, right? So they become, a true feature now within desktop, where a lot of times, well, only way to do it is to go out to an external tool. I think this is going to be great. I think it's going to get people into calculation groups that haven't been there before, but their minds also are going to get blown on how does this all work.
Yeah, to
So,
me, calculation groups has always been more of a pro dev piece of
mhm.
functionality. So like even including in the desktop, I don't know. We will
Yeah,
see. I'd love to see the stats on
yeah,
how many people actually build out a calc group just through the front end, right? But we'll see.
yeah. Well, yeah. Not only do you have the difficulty of building it out, but the training on how to use it. If you're doing self-service,
Yeah,
right?
right,
It's not as
right.
intuitive as it seems unless you're actually training somebody, right? So it's a lot easier to go find a measure that says sales year over year than put the sales measure on something, bring in a calculation group and select the year over year calculation item. So,
Okay.
um, anyways,
And Dan is saying Backstage is a new home experience in desktop once enabled to remove the splash screen and make it more office like. Oh, that's kind of
oh,
cool.
okay,
And Jason is saying Alex said in Reddit that the Backstage is what appears when you click on file open, how the stuff is presented. Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for those updates.
Yeah.
Where were we? Share, save to OneDrive and SharePoint, maybe. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of cold on that one. I'm not big into letting everything run amok onto OneDrive and SharePoint. It gets all disorganized. But
Uh, uh Honestly, I actually prefer that. I just
do you?
I will say because I'm in multiple tenants, when I enabled that, it like totally took down my ability to save anything, and I had
Hmm.
all sorts of problems in logging in and like resetting my Power BI desktop on that. Now that was I enable everything almost immediately, so I feel the
Right.
brunt of any pain and can provide feedback to Microsoft right away for everyone, so that it's me taking the hit and I know how to
Hmm.
handle it. So I kind of like purposely beat myself like that for everyone, but yeah, that's it wasn't good. I'll have to try that again, see how that
Yeah.
goes. Yeah,
Um, so data activator, right? I'm super psyched about this.
yeah,
Uh,
and Stina has pointed out that frankly, I think Data Activator is going to be the most impactful feature that they have added to the entire platform, because what that's going to allow is people to actually legitimately take action from
mhm.
anything inside the service, right? So like it's like Power Automate on steroids,
Right.
and I think that is where we're going to see some incredible integration opportunities that we can frankly, it's the type of thing that if you're a business user or you can get business users to know about it, you're going to see someone in your organization start to highly leverage it and become so dominant in their space, so highly productive, so successful that it's going to knock everyone's socks off, right? Like they're going to go from doing like I don't know $100 in sales to 100 million in sales. That type of thing is what data activator is going to enable. I swear to God, we're going to see that.
So what I think you're going to see first, right, is
Mm-hmm.
because people that are into the technology will use things. I think you're going to see things that are kind of a little bit more into our, I'll call it data engineering space, but maybe watching the data for data quality issues, giving yourself alerts when you see data quality issues, right? And it's things that the people that could try to learn the technology, they're going to do things to help themselves first, to then teach the business how to do the things with the business stuff, right?
100%, right? They'll teach that, but
Yeah.
there's going to be somebody, and they're going to be like 28 years old, and they're going to be like they'll be
Oh yeah.
hustling, and they'll be kind of good in their job, right? But they'll be trying to find that leg up. How do I get ahead of
Hmm.
all the other people around them? and they're going to figure this out. And
Yep.
this is going to become the competitive advantage that skyrockets them to the top of their leaderboards, to the top of sales, to the top of finance or accounting or collections or operations or whatever department they're in. This is just going to be this massive catalyst for them.
Yep.
And like we're going to hear, like people are going to write books about it, and now they'll just say they use the power of automation, but that power of automation they're talking about is going to be data activator.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Yeah.
The next one, I haven't read a whole lot on it, but I already have ideas for it. Dataverse shortcuts.
Oh yeah.
I'm super excited about that
Yep.
because of already. Um, in one of my clients, we were talking about, they're giving me this kind of gnarly spreadsheet to bring into the solution and everything, and they struggle with keeping that spreadsheet up to date. And they understand, right, that if they make a mistake on it, it's possible that data won't come into the solution correctly. They're like, we
Mm-hmm.
really need to write an app about this. Can we do a power app, on it? Says, yeah, and they're a small client. And I'm thinking, well, maybe we should just do the power app within Teams, get it into Dataverse, right? And then I was going, okay, but now I got to consume the data in the Dataverse. Now, if I just shortcut it from that, I think it's going to open up that type of high level solution from Power Apps, Dataverse into OneLake very easily. That's how what I'm imagining that I'm going to be able to do.
Oh, you are spot on, Kevin. This is a radical step forward when it comes to integrating our applications and our analytics, and
Hmm.
that's always been the biggest challenge. In fact, one of the best CIOs I ever worked for said, "Hey, you cannot implement an application feature if we don't have analytics to show the performance of it."
Hmm.
And so, like we anytime the app team was building anything, we worked in partnership to build reports that would show the show leadership the results or the impact of that those changes. So uh that just meant that whatever was being put in, people knew it was being monitored and tracked, and like, hey, if you said this is going to provide XYZ, well, it better provide XYZ because y- you know then they weren't it was tracked, it was monitored, right?
Yeah,
uh
because you don't improve or you don't change what you don't track. If you're not measuring it, you're not changing it.
yeah, that's exactly right. It's the old scientific principle, right? If you
Yep.
measure it, you can change it. And so that's why I am super psyched about that one, right? So
I saw what you just put up on the screen and took down.
oh yeah.
Wait, you want to jump over to the far side?
Yeah, because we're gonna loop back to this week here.
Yeah, we're gonna loop back to this week. So, but dark mode, a lot of buzz across the socials on dark mode.
uh, I am super psyched about dark mode. I swear that is like the number one feature for me is dark mode. When Powerback came out, it had this great, sleek black design. It was awesome. It looked super cool. It was great. And then but it broke from all of Microsoft's style design guides. And,
Hmm.
it didn't look anything like Office, and honestly, I think that's why. Uh, I think that's why it was so popular. Like people were like, "Oh, this doesn't this isn't Microsoft." And it really wasn't, right? It didn't come through the classic development process at Microsoft. This was this new agile development by a young team of engineers that were building something out. Front end was really from scratch. Like the whole concept of low code, no code was. I mean, I don't even think we even said that back then. I don't
Yeah,
know when that was born, but like that was the idea. How do we give tools that are built on enterprise scalable solutions but usable by business people? And oh, it was fantastic. And then they rightfully went into alignment with Office and Outlook so that they could do the cloud deployments and whatnot. But it's so good to see that it's coming back.
Yeah. Well, and there's a little bit of chatter going on, about some people not wanting it, but as long as you have a switch, turn it on and off, right?
Right,
Nobody's
right.
forcing you to use it, so
Well,
um,
so everyone forced us to use the light mode.
that's true.
Like
That's true.
I would almost be fine forcing everyone back, but I'm very comfortable with the switch that allows you to toggle. Right, like think that should have been in the MVP deployment. So
Yeah.
that is
Um,
cool.
Wrapping up the sneak peek side, just
Mm-hmm.
real quick, you got two different Copilot things, right? Authoring DAX and the data flow Gen 2. I think that's going to be kind of interesting. Um,
Well,
so we'll have to see
especially
where
the
that goes.
co-pilot there.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of excited about because I think a lot of people have challenges when it comes to like query folding and how to get these, how to do your transformations right, and how to push, how to rewrite your entire like your transformations to get your query folding to get optimal running and processing of your data flows. And so
Hmm.
I'm hoping that Copilot really helps on that front, right?
Wow, you think it'll include like do it this way so it query folds? I was kind of thinking maybe it's just column by examples on steroids or something, but interesting thoughts there.
Yeah. So Donald is saying he has data activator, and have we checked? And I could
Yeah.
say I've had it. I think I've had it since day one because I was part of a private preview, and I've just been trying to hide it because I'm not supposed to share that. So it's good to have that out. So yes.
Yeah, I was in this similar thing as you, and I didn't think even though it showed up, it wasn't working
Mm,
when I tried it. But in my dev tenant, I did see it pop up, and in some of my client tenants, I've seen it popped up. So um, if you haven't seen it, it's probably rolled out to your tenant. If you happen to be in a region that is supporting what is the region Central, I think it is, doesn't.
yeah.
Because I know I have a client in Central. I had to stand up an F2 in East in order to keep them moving. It works, but things were a little bit choppy at first. So you could always do that, but if you're in Central, you can't do a trial and you wouldn't see it there, type of thing.
Sure. Sure.
Let's run through the middle one really quickly because we left one off. That is something that we decided this morning we're going to get a little bit deeper into.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Folders, right? We talked about that a little, I think last week or the week before. Chris was all in on folder. No, he's not. Let's not stop. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring up that.
Somebody clip it. Go watch last week's week. You can watch it. It's yeah.
DAX query view, I think, is going to be interesting, but is also going to be one of these things that kind of like what we talked about with calculation groups. A lot of people consider DAX to only be measures,
Mm-hmm.
and writing queries is different, right? When you get into tools like DAX Studio and stuff like that, you actually have to know how to write the query parts of it and what works on it. That's going to be pulled into desktop to be able to have the queries within desktop itself. Um, I think people are going to get I'll have to see how it's implemented. I've seen absolutely nothing on this. But if it's you're sitting there writing a query in there, people are going to go, well, is it saved? Is it part? How am I putting that onto a visual and everything? Rather than like I use DAX Studio to figure out performance and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's interesting, but what are your thoughts, real quick, Chris?
Yeah. I think that's another feature that uh, is like almost like direct query, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Marco Russo. And for those of you who don't know, on Wednesday, we're going to have Marco Russo is going to be on the live stream at Wednesday. We're going to be
Do
talking
not
about the
miss.
value of best practices. So don't miss that. But at one point in time, he had said on, I think it was on a Guy in the Cube live stream that um, he wished there you could get a license in order to create a direct query model, just because
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to do, and to get it to perform and everything is a challenge. You have to really know the back end has to be as performant as your front end, and most of the performance It's going to be driven through the back end. And if you don't have proper query folding that goes back to that back end, like it's complex. It's difficult. I think DAX queries start to fall into that same bucket. Whereas if you know what you're doing, great, you can do this. And if you're the owner of the model that, that falls onto the pro dev side, right? Where, you know, when and how to do that so that it's performant and it works inside your solution, and you test that it's performant and it works inside your solution. I have a feeling we're going to get lots of people who get confused by that, and they're going to attempt to do some really classical SQL things inside of DAX Query View, and then
and it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not going to perform, and we're going to have more challenges there. So,
Slicer visual, we touched on a little bit already. Exploration. Boy, I don't even remember what. I don't even know if I know what that is. Interesting. Diagram view in Power BI desktop. Oh, I think what this is the Power Query diagram view. That's what it took me a second to shift what that context was. I just couldn't fit it on there. Copilot for getting started. Narratives for Copilot. Q&A for Copilot. Oh, and then integration with Loop. Do you use Loop? I don't use Loop a whole lot.
I don't even, honestly, I don't know what Loop is.
Loop, I think, is like another part of what you could have in either Office or Teams or whatever. And it kind of keeps the conversation all together. But Christina in Texas says she uses Loop a ton. I think I tried it once or twice, and where it fell down is I just put it out there in something, and like in Teams, and the people that I intended to also use it had no clue what it was, so they just went off and did what they normally do. So,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I'll have to get in and check that out. Okay. So I think we've hit all of these items. And we're seeing people.
We missed one.
Yeah, there's one. And I think lots of people are excited about this one. And I can't wait to show you exactly what I am so excited about this one. And this is Semantic Leak. And we're going to, where's my desktop? We're going to share my desktop, and I can't wait. I cannot wait to show you the powerful thing you're going to be able to do with this. So let me share that. Let me turn your desktop off.
Okay.
And oh my gosh. Let me share my desktop.
So let's kind of just first regroup a little bit, right? What is semantic link? Can we give a definition for it?
Sure. Semantic link. Where the heck did it go? I have a whole page on it. Data activator, OneLake. Semantic link. All right, so we could put this out. What semantic link does is it allows data scientists to hit your semantic models. Just for clarity, Power BI datasets are being renamed semantic models because that's what they really are, right? And so that helps, instead of like calling everything everything a data set, or a data model, which data scientists use, data engineers use. Okay, fine. We analysts use semantic models, so that's great. A semantic link allows a data scientist to connect to those semantic models and query that information as a data scientist, right? So inside of a notebook using Python, they can get access to that OneLake, that file, that semantic model that can power what goes into, oh my God, and look at this loop. Look at how powerful this is going to be. So, I just love this even more and more as we go. So I can create a measure that I can, as an analyst, and I can give this to a data scientist who could take that information and they could create other measures that they publish in, right? So I could create measure A. They could go in and they could do work on it and they could call it measure A alpha, right? That can then feed into OneLake that I could pull into my model and replace measure A with measure A
Mm-hmm.
alpha, and then measure A alpha becomes through automation becomes measure A beta that then feeds into OneLake that then goes into my model and becomes measure A theta, and then that goes in, and it's this never-ending loop of cycle of the information just continuously changing, and at no point in time do you have a static value. And it's going to be so amazing because then we have like an ever never ending churn of like inconsistent data that people are always looking at going like, hey, your A is not the same as A, which changed when I loaded A and I don't understand what's happening with A. Oh, I cannot
But
wait to do
I
this.
got it from Fabric, right? I got it from here, and so it's got to be right.
That is exactly right. It is great because now that loop is perfectly pictured here as this wonderful cycle of changing your data ever so slightly through different tools and different capabilities, but all on the same platform. So like like if you're going to ever sort it out, at least it's in the same platform. So, oh my gosh, that is just great. But then here's what I love about this is I, as a data scientist, my manager has come in and the CEO has said, hey, Chris, you're a smart data scientist. We've got 20,000 reports and there's thousands and thousands of measures and metrics that we have that we're using to drive the operations inside of our business. Can you tell me what measures are actually having a material difference on our business? And I'm a data scientist, and I'm in. That's the exact type of question that I want to have. So I say, oh, CEO, that's great. I'm gonna need lots of access or get that done. And the CEO says, yes, this is a huge part of our company. Hey, CDO, you give him, that data scientist, any of the access that he needs in order to get this done. It's super. It's a huge priority for our data scientists. And so, as a data scientist, I do my research and I realize, oh, hey, look, there are these APIs that I can run, and I can get every single workspace that I have access to. And my CDO just gave me access to all of the workspaces in the company. So this is fantastic. So I can use Python to call this API to produce a data frame that has all of the workspaces that is available inside my organization. Awesome. Then what I could do is I could take that workspace ID and I can use another API to then create a list of all of the data sets that I have access to, right? So super easy for me to do this. I just use my authentication. I just go in and I run these APIs. Now I have to use a service principal on this because, oh, my ID is expiring, but CDO says it's important, so I get a service principal. Not a problem, right? That API I then use once I have all my workspaces and I then what is this one? Oh, I get my
Yeah,
I get my
yep.
workspaces. I then get all of my data sets, and once I've got all of my data sets, oh, super simple. Now I'm just going to use that semantic link API that we were just talking about right here. Now that I have all of my workspace IDs and all of my data set IDs, I'm just going to run through all of my data sets and I'm just going to extract all of the data that's in all of the data sets. I'm going to dump them into OneLake and so that I can produce my analysis on it. So awesome. No
Hmm.
problem. I'm just going to run my models against that. There's a little pesky thing. There's 100,000 record like ceiling on what you can pull out of it, but that's okay. I've got a way of looping through and like pulling
Yeah.
it in and 100,000 records at a time, and it's fine. I'm a data scientist. I'm a smart guy. I'm going to loop through it, and it can run for like 10 days. And over the course of the next 10 days, I'll just hit every model in my organization, pull all of the compressed data out of my models and load it into OneLake. So I'm perfectly fine with that. I think that's great, because then I can do my analysis. I can really go in and see what's going on inside all of the reports, inside all the models out there. Um, I think that'll be fantastic, right?
So that I think Daryl kind of finally picked up on exactly what you were talking about there,
What I'm
but
putting down there.
putting down. That's what I was going to say, but it sounded a little corny in my head before I put it out. The other thing that I'm noticing here, because I was reading the same article that you put up, and Donald, thank you for putting the links out for everybody. But even easier, right? I think once you get that set of workspace goods, there's uh, a call called list data sets that you just provide it the workspace. So I don't even have to call the API, right? I mean, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. I think I might, between this and just kind of little inside baseball, this was something Chris and I literally half an hour or now an hour ago when we got on and we started talking about all these things and we brought it up and he said, well, this is what somebody's going to do. I go, really? And so within about 5 minutes, we kind of sketched out this high level solution, and Chris did a great job of putting it all together here, as he always does on the fly. But this was kind of the point we were trying to make is, these I think this feature is great. I think it will help out when it's used correctly. But when you have a big enterprise and somebody goes and it's not that the scenario Chris put out there doesn't have a valid business question, but is this really the right way to solve it? Right. And Daryl, yeah, you kind of picked up on the point. So I would say it's not that we're not fans, right? But it's also kind of saying, hey, let's use some caution here.
Well, and it goes back to the whole, like, there's a right way to use a solution and there's a wrong way, right? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's where I think like a community of practice becomes very helpful, to like have these conversations and talk about what does it really mean? Because you probably evaluating all of the data sets and all of the measures out there is probably not a great idea, right? That's probably not the insights that you're looking for. And especially if they're import models, like it causing that performance issue on all these models, again, not a great idea. If you have a model, your enterprise model, and they're connected to OneLake, you could separate that out. So like all of your users are hitting one version of that semantic model, and that's running against your P1 or P3 or P5 or whatever it is, right? That's hitting that, and that's all well and good. But that code base, that semantic code base, deploy that into like the workspace the data scientist is running in, so that like the data science can bring their compute into that. Then that's much better, right? Like if that's the case, then this works out great. And frankly, if you have that community so that data scientists can talk about what that impact would be and understand, like, yeah, you can get access, but like access doesn't mean you should just run amok, right? Like helping on that, I think will really help this whole thing, right? And I mean, the subject of today was supposed to, or is OneLake, and I think this gets into why OneLake is so powerful as a potential versus the import model, right? That import model has that fragility about it that, while performance in some ways is the opposite of scalable, right? It's not a scalable solution, right? You can do some like scale out and scale up types activities and whatnot, but it's not truly scalable because you can't bring n numbers of different sizes, compute against it. Whereas a semantic model sitting on top of OneLake, now you get true scale capabilities on your analytics. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Now, let's go back to my desktop and just
kind of keep running through it.
Yeah, let's keep going and let's talk about a little bit more about OneLake, because this is, I think, a huge feature that, like, if you're not using, like, you definitely should. Especially because I think using the OneLake File Explorer, which is right here, and I'll copy this, I'll put this into the chat so you guys have access to it. You can download and install it, and this allows you to go in and see all of the content that you have out in OneLake, and you can actually go in and browse and see this information. Now you
Mm-hmm.
see it's also, because it's out in the cloud, you're not, just like with OneDrive, you're not downloading all of this information, right? So you don't have to worry about like data being exported out or any of that stuff. It's just, it appears right inside of here. Okay. Uh, but even to understand how a lake house works, it's great to go in and take a look at the different file structures, right? That is out here, and that you're working with. So I'm in this case, I'm in my AdventureWorks Lakehouse. This is a workspace, right? So this is the name of the workspace. Inside of that workspace, I've got the following assets. So I've got my AdventureWorks Lakehouse, the actual lakehouse I built my model off of. I built out a Synapse data warehouse and I stuck it right next to it. Now, and then I also did a demo one as part of, I think, recently for something else that I used out there.
So
Now,
you even see those middle two that are, you must have a Dataflow Gen 2 out there, huh?
yep, I've got a Dataflow Gen 2 that is being created. And you actually see those in both cases. These are folders that are automatically created as part of the processing.
Mm-hmm.
These two right here don't use these. They're straight up going to be hidden at some point in time in the future because they're like at the back of the house service processing capability.
Right.
Okay, so don't get too wrapped up in that. But if we go into a lake house, we can start to see the information that's in there. So we've got our files, we've got our tables, and we've got our warehouse system. Okay, now, if I go into my warehouse system, really, okay, really.
Hmm.
Demo
You need to,
gods.
do you need to do a refresh at the highest level?
Oh.
You click, I think if you right click on it, there's a refresh from
Oh, sync from OneLake.
sync from
Okay,
OneLake is what it calls it. So maybe that will clear up your permission issue.
we'll give her a shot. Uh, huh, okay, sync from OneLake.
Do, 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 do.
We are in
I'll,
preview. I
I'll do.
literally went through this last week and it worked just fine. So, what do you know?
Let me try one. I think I might be connected to one of my clients, but I might be able. Let me look at it over here first, because you can also now change. Oh, I'm not connected to one of my clients. I'm connected to myself.
Good. Don't show us your clients. Um,
So
so,
let's see what happens when I get into.
Cody has a question. He's saying in OneLake, why do Delta files appear under a lakehouse created LBH when LBH is links to LHA? So when lakehouse would in OneLake, why do Delta files appear under a lakehouse created lakehouse B when lakehouse B links to lakehouse A? I'm gonna. I believe this is because the data is actually in A, but if you're manifesting it and make it appear through linking in B, that's done on purpose to uh, um, uh, make these sync and appear appear like it's in B, so people who are working in B can leverage it as if it is in B, even though it's in A, right?
Yeah, so kind of like, yeah, you're seeing what I have on my screen. It's still the demo gods. I think they're
Yeah,
messing each of us up. But they still have to have some type of structure below that. And so just like when you look on Windows desktop, right, when you say, do a shortcut, right, there is an actual object that is put onto your file system. It's a very small object that is pointing back to the other the what you had the shortcut to.
Yeah.
So, it's they still, it's just a kind of an infrastructure type of thing. So, you know, uh, I meant shortcuts, not link. Yeah, I figured you meant a shortcut. So even to put the shortcut out there, they just have to have some type of object to help them know the metadata for the shortcut. And I think that's why you kind of see it that way. Maybe Cody, we're kind of answering your question because you might even see all the different Parquet files and stuff like that, but it's not copying it. It's not taking up the same amount of size as if you moved it all over there.
Yeah, and I don't even see the process running, so maybe I've got some fundamental service issue now. I don't know. It's the
It
demo
seems
gods. Like last week, I got to the SQL conference and like I had to rewrite my entire code demo
yeah.
that morning because like for whatever reason I couldn't connect to this server that is running right now. And honestly, when I got home, it was still running. So like I don't know why. Just Saturday, at the conference, it did not want to do what it was supposed to do. So it just is what it is.
Yeah.
But
Well, and my thing is messing up as well. Let me
well,
look at a little newer ones here.
then let's just talk at a high level, okay? So let's just use some bins here when we talk about let's talk Lake House A, right? And we'll talk Lake House B, right? The advantage here is we can have the blue domain share information with the orange domain, and the orange domain share information back with the blue domain, right? That's huge because especially as we think about how we work and operate together, the reality is like this is the sharing pattern that we see in every company. Today we have to do a lot to come on now. We have to do a lot to keep these things in sync. But now, in this case, we just put in, uh, uh, a link between the two, and that table that is in Lakehouse appears like it's in Lakehouse B, right? So, what the heck symbol should I use for a table? We'll say the folder one. Where'd the folder one go? I. I'll just do this. All right. So this table can appear like it's in, the table from Lake House A can appear like it's in Lake House B. And conversely, that table that's from Lake House B can appear like it's in A. So you can use those back and forth. That's awesome. Okay. Now, um, the other big benefit we get is we start to get into this pattern necessitates and allows for us to start to institute OLS, right? Object level security. So we can share these individual objects back and forth, and we can be assured that the people that are interacting with this information, that they have the right access when it comes to who can do what. Now, the next thing that I'm looking forward to them adding into OneLake security is RLS, so row level security, that we're going to start to see that gets brought into the lake house. And then the
And we
last,
are
yeah,
we are starting to see that show up in the warehouse part of it, right?
yes, yep,
Row level security and column level security. But I think you're kind of making an important point here. Is if it's in one compute engine, is it in both? I don't think it is at this time, right? But maybe I'm stealing your thunder.
no, no,
You're
no,
headed in a certain direction, right? So that
yep,
it's in Lake House as well.
yep. So that's exactly what we're going to see. Is we're going to eventually get down to be able to add in and manage these different levels of access inside of our space so that we can have these column level row level solutions in place.
Okay,
Now,
what country flag is that?
what is it? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't either, but
Secure data country flag,
the
right?
blue one
That's
looks like a country's flag.
yeah.
So.
Oh, it is. Yeah. But either way, the idea is we're gonna be able to have that, truly a
Hmm.
great level of control that we can define at that OneLake or object lake level, and then we can leverage that across our entire stack, right?
Yep.
Um,
And then even like what you're showing, and what, Cody's question was to begin with, is, I'm doing a shortcut between these two, and that's going to be the advantage of doing the shortcuts versus a copy is your security definition will go along with it,
yep.
to where if you just somebody reads it because they have permission and then they store it into a whole new workspace, right? And you're going to have to watch your data lineage and stuff if people do this. Now all of a sudden they're taking off the security that you intended, right? So because
Yeah.
I don't know that like if I have read permission and I could write it somewhere else, I think I could then, people will see the data I'm allowed to see. And there's sometimes there's governance policies around that versus technical policies.
Right. Right. Imagine HR. Uh, HR can see your age, right? They know what when you're born, that type of information. But you don't want to provide that out to like management and other people, um, uh, uh, to be able to like discriminate, right? Like you don't even
Hmm.
want the chance of that to occur at all. Um, uh, that that would be really really bad, right? So like having that column level security, so like okay, HR, you can see like someone's age because you have a need to do that, but you can then be assured that when you share that content out, no one in the organization who shouldn't have access to someone's age can see that.
Hmm.
Or like salary information, right? Like if you shouldn't have access to salary information, you shouldn't see people's salary, right? That's another great example, right? So, so this is these are our lake houses and how we can share information. Now we could duplicate this and we could talk about database or data warehouse. No, I think that the challenge we have, um, and now, if I'm not mistaken, if we're looking at data
I
warehouses, right?
thought they announced column level security as well.
Did they? Oh,
I could have sworn.
okay, awesome. No, you're right. You're right. They did say that. Uh, I think the bigger challenge here is that this sharing in this situation is not automated nor as easy and does require the copying of information back and forth today. That's
Well,
the
unless you're in the same workspace, I definitely could see this from the same workspace, right? Because you could use the three-part naming, within a SQL statement.
but then it's
Uh,
all just in data warehouse A, right? You can't have
that's
another,
well,
right?
but it's kind of like your shortcut idea, right? Everything stays in data warehouse A, but then if you're in data warehouse B and you're doing a query, like that's like it's how you say use database, and in that you can still three-part name back to data to, but you're right, you don't have like an actual
Right.
shortcut you're defining there.
What you're describing, what you're describing, X's out data warehouse B. It's saying that doesn't exist. Like just do it all over here and break out by schema. Okay, you can do that, and then you can share, and it's not a problem. But the reality is, these are the type of situations where, okay, so one team is using data warehouse A, they have that need to get that data. Um, uh, I do not know of the ability to like automatically share this, or I don't even know if it's on the roadmap. I've not heard anyone talk about this. I've heard them everyone's talking about the lake house scenario. And
Hmm.
this works, right? Like I mean, inherently Like this is working now, and this has been a fundamental part of OneLake and the Lake House, and like this is awesome. And this is a great question that Cody's asking. Where's the security applied? The lake house or the warehouse? I think lake house, but I'm not fuzzy on how it manifests itself into warehouse. Great question, Cody. Um, in this case, the data is set up and maintained. Um, it's done inside of OneLake. So the security exists and it's defined inside of OneLake, and one security. I think they're calling it. This is
Mm-hmm.
where this gets put together and maintained, so that that security will be the same in Lakehouse A and in Lakehouse B. Now, when we go over to the data warehouse, unfortunately, all of this security is done in the data warehouse. So it's not going to matter what's defined inside of OneLake, because you'll redefine the security. You'll have to redefine the security inside the data warehouses,
Hmm.
right? Or am I
Yeah,
wrong?
I would think, right? Because didn't they say the whole concept of One Lake is they would have one security, and it may be rolling out right now is that you got to do it in both places. But I think on the long term roadmap, they have to get it in the one place.
Okay. Well,
And I, you know, it just feels kind of that way. So, but yeah, right now because definitely they rolled out the row level security and the column level security into the warehouse type of thing. Um, so I think it would just be a matter of time that if you're going to have just one copy of the data, you got to have one set of security policies as
yep,
well.
yep.
So hopefully that's there, and I'm not just kind of imagining things, or it will be there, but
Cody,
it's going to take quite a while.
Cody, does that make sense? Does that answer your question? I hope. Oh
And so you
my.
just put another question.
Yes. Well, and Cody,
It's
this is exactly
kind
the
of
challenge right here, and why, if it doesn't sink in that this is a problem, and why Kevin is saying like that's got to come in, and we've got to figure out when this is going to be here. I believe now, maybe the decision is, uh, okay, if you need an exception for how access should happen, then you stand up a warehouse in order to step away from the OneLake security. And in fact, I should label this. Maybe that's the differentiator, is that in order to separate out from that, you have to go to a data warehouse where you might really prefer the OneLake, but because you have it set up here, OneLake security doesn't come into play until later, right?
yeah. I think it's going to have to come into one place, but
Yeah.
we'll have to go back and kind of look at that just a little bit more and see if there's any clues on the roadmap for it.
Yep.
But yeah, your point is true, Cody. Is that if you have to do it in multiple places, it will become unmanageable and it will be done inconsistently, right? Which then won't pass audits and things like that. So yeah, keep watching this space, I'd say.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay, Donald
Awesome.
said that One Lake Security is on the roadmap for 2024.
Yes.
And I think that One Lake Security, I
I
really do
I
think
think
they're
it's this that's on the roadmap.
okay.
Um,
We'll have to go back and look.
I mean, they already have object level security because this is just sharing links. The
Mm-hmm.
existing sharing links. So that's a thing today, right? It's the row level and the column level that I think we're going to see in the future, unless someone says that's not the same thing. But I can't see how that's not the same thing. So, but
Let's see. I know we're bumping time, but I got to
yeah.
look at the.
Okay, you've got something to share. We'll head over to
Well,
that.
Donald put the link out,
Okay.
so let's see for
See,
tables.
and files public preview Q2 2024. Interesting. I thought the link sharing would. I thought that was that, but okay.
Enabled by use of single data copy across analytic engines, right? And the way they've been saying that is right because there's the Spark engine, there's the SQL engine that's in the warehouse, and they consider the data model, right, the semantic model, another engine. So that implies to me that once defined, it would be, when you're using a single data copy across multiple engines, the security would be enforced.
Yep.
But it gets back to that, like we were just kind of kept saying, is remember that that's saying you're using it across all of those engines, So if you end up somebody has access to workspace A and they copy it into workspace B, that's there's that's a copy. That's not sharing the one single data so
Yep. All right. Well, we are at time. We got to get out of here. A reminder again, Marco Russo on Wednesday next week. I'm super excited to have him on. That's going to be great. And, because, the reality is, as Paul Turley says, it's because Marco said so that we do this stuff, right? So let's not forget that's why, we're all here and we do this stuff. He's helped define those best practices. But other than that, I got a jet. Kevin, everyone, thanks for joining. We'll see you guys later.
Peace.
Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.